Hello, welcome to pdxMindShares, a podcast brought to you by pdxMindShare and sponsored by Anvil Media, a digital marketing agency in Portland, Oregon. And we're giving Portland tips to get hired, also to grow your career. And one of the ways that we help you do that is helping you recognize your skills, your interests, strengths, weaknesses. We all know that question comes up a lot in interviews. What is your greatest weakness? And it's a dreaded question. I mean, who wants to answer that? Also, who can answer that? I think your best friend, your mom, maybe even former mentors or bosses can probably answer that question for you. And they would phrase it a little nicer, what do we want you to work on, where can you improve? But these are people that can answer the question a lot better than you can. Do we see our flaws clearly? I don't think so. I do think we are our toughest critics, and we could probably give you a list of what we think is wrong with us, but I don't think any of those would actually be our greatest weaknesses. I don't think that we see them as clearly as our loved ones. I also don't think we see them the way that they're supposed to be seen, which is these are not flaws. Weaknesses are not the same as flaws. I've been thinking a lot about strengths and weaknesses and how they tell us who we are, not just in our personal lives, but in our professional lives. It's sort of been the hot topic this week at Anvil and pdxMindShare. On Tuesday, we had a visitor, our good friend Dave Rendall. His Twitter is tagged on our Twitter account, as well as Anvil Media's. Twitter.com/Anvil Media will take you if you want to check him out. But his topic and the thing that he's known for is the freak factor. Why does he call it freak factor? If you're really good at something or you're known for something, you're called a freak for that. Like if you're really organized, you're a neat freak. If you're really good at sports, they call you the insert sports term here, a freak. So your freak factor is both your greatest strength and your greatest quote unquote weakness, right? So how can these things tell us what we're supposed to do next with our lives? Well, think about something that people tell you that you do a lot. Not a greatest weakness, but what kind of criticism do you receive a lot? Like, are you too critical? Well, there are jobs out there for critics. Maybe it's not a problem. Maybe it's not something you need to change. You could be a film critic. You could be a food critic. People look to critics for an opinion, and in that case, they want the best opinion. They want to know what you really recommend. So if you're a book critic, being too critical is a good thing. Reading a book and finishing a book takes a lot of time. I want to know what's a really good book you recommend if I'm going to be spending a good chunk of time when I'm not working reading that book. Do you get called too aggressive or too assertive or too much? You might be a really good leader. Those are good management and directorship positions. If you're too in someone's face, that's not a bad thing. It just means that you need to put that activity to good use. If you're a director, being too assertive doesn't exist. You're not too anything. You're just assertive enough or not assertive enough. Do you get called too fun, too silly, too flexible? The downside of that could be maybe you get distracted too easily. None of those are a problem, by the way. It just means you need to be putting those to good use. If you're in a position where you need to be more organized and finish a task before you move on to the next one, then the flexible, easily distracted, rolls with the punches kind of personality isn't going to be for you in that position. But if you have that personality, that is a great personality for like coaches, motivators, anything that requires multitasking and being like a mover and a shaker. So essentially, there is no too much of anything or a weakness. I think the weakness is the position that you're in. Your skills, something that comes naturally to you, isn't being used in your everyday job. And it should be. You should feel proud and feel that praise of a job well done just by being yourself. For example, I talk too much. I know that. I'm a talker, I'm a chatter, and it's not like small talk. I really like to go into detail about topics and like really hard-hitting things. So what did my job do? They gave me a podcast. Instead of telling me to shut up or stifling me or putting me somewhere else, they gave me an outlet, and it enhanced the whole team. So try to make a list of 5 things that you feel are a weakness or that you get told are a certain criticism by people in your inner circle, and look up what jobs require that skill or that natural trait of yours in order to be successful in them. That might be your next career move. I hope this helped you. It's always great being able to share my career tips, job search tips, and prattle on, as you guys have realized that I like to do. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you later.